everybody, my name is Wes. I'm one of the resident worship leaders here at ChurchTrac, and today we're talking about the worship planning and volunteer scheduling side of ChurchTrac. I'm super excited about this because I kind of tend to nerd out in this area because I'm a worship leader. So let's go ahead. We're going to dive into all the things, but before we dive into all the things, I just want to remind everybody of a couple things that you should have on your radar. First and foremost, our Facebook group. If you are on Facebook, we have an amazing ChurchTrac users group. This is people who are using ChurchTrac just like yourself. It's just such a great place to hang out, talk to other people using the software, maybe learn some tips and tricks from other people who are using the software to do some really cool things, but also just if you want to bounce any ideas off of people, it's a great place to go. Also, if you are like me and you like to learn by watching videos how to do things, I actually watched a video a while back to, again, fix my car again. So I love YouTube because you can learn how to do so many things. And we put all these videos on YouTube just to help you be able to learn the software and use these features and so much more. So be sure to check out our YouTube channel. Now, when it comes to getting help the official way, the easiest and quickest way to get help is within the application itself. Just click that help button. This help button here, I'll zoom in real quick just in case you're on a smaller device. But when you click this help button, it actually brings a drop down where you can look at any related help topics depending on where you are in the software. You can also ask us a question right from here. It goes to create a support ticket. On average, support tickets are answered usually in about 30 minutes to an hour tops when you catch us during our business hours. And then you can also just show all help topics, see our entire user guide. We try to make it pretty easy to figure out things in ChurchTrac and the software itself. But when you do need help and you need to have some material to look at, we've got tons of stuff here for you. Okay. So today I am laser focused on one screen and one screen only, and that is the worship planning, volunteer scheduling side of ChurchTrac. And so that's what we're going to talk about. Let's go ahead. I've got it turned on, cranked up. You ready to dial it up to 11, everybody? All right. So we're going to talk about today what is the worship feature in ChurchTrac. We're going to talk about how to get started with worship and scheduling in ChurchTrac. Then we're going to look at how to get the most out of this because there are some features that we've actually built into ChurchTrac that are really going to help you just excel in your planning so well. So we've got some good stuff in there. And then we've got some tips that we'll close with just to really help you get the most out of all of it as well. So it's kind of like tips and how to get the most are kind of the same thing here, but you'll see why as we go along. Now, I do have the chat wide open here. If you do have any questions as we go along, feel free to drop them in the chat. I see you, Nick. Wes is real. I'm real. And you are too, Nick, I would assume, because we're talking live. Now, if you're watching this in the future, unfortunately, you can't talk live with us here and ask questions in real time, but you can always just create a support ticket or check out our YouTube channel or the million other ways to get support. Okay, well, I'm logged into my account, so we're going to the worship and scheduling screen here in ChurchTrac, so I select that. Now, just to give you a quick overview of everything that's happening here. So when you go to the worship and scheduling screen, you have the services and scheduling tab, which this shows all your upcoming services as well as previous. So I've got a bunch of previous services here. I have no upcoming services. I did this on purpose because I want to show you how to create things and stuff today. We also have our teams and roles tab. And this is not the roles like those really good roles you get at Red Lobster. No, these are roles for people specifically within your teams. And so like if you've got your worship team, I have all these different roles within my worship team. I've got the worship leader, keys, vocalist. But this is so much deeper than just scheduling out your worship team, everybody. So think your AV team, think your welcome team, think children's ministry. And we'll dive more into this later, but I just want you to see that this is scheduling anybody in your church that's serving at your church. So moving along, we have the song library. So if you're a worship leader like myself, you are going to be using this a lot. And yes, we do have song select integration, all the fun stuff. And we'll go deeper into song library in a minute. And then we have the setup tab. And this is where you just enter things like your default service times, because a lot of times we have certain times when we create a service, we want that default time to just be in there ready to rock. Different service elements. So these are the different things that are happening within worship services. We create these here, locations, So I have different areas where maybe we have different events at our church. This actually coincides with the calendar side of ChurchTrac, which is nice. And then our service templates, I've got a couple here that I've used in the past. So that is kind of the quick overview of just everything, how it's laid out. We try to make it lay out pretty easily so that way you can just navigate around, find where you need to go quick. So there typically shouldn't be much guessing for you. And there are a couple little hidden features in here we'll go over. So, all right, now let's talk about actually getting things set up here. So getting started with worship and scheduling. Now, to get started, I always first recommend that you first just get familiar with it, click around, just kind of see where things are. Then go ahead and start adding your songs into your song library if you're a worship leader. So if you're planning out worship, you want to have those songs, I always recommend doing this first. And the reason I recommend doing this first is because it's so much easier when you start planning all the things to already have your songs in your library. And there are a few different ways that you can add songs into ChurchTrac. Now, the first way is by just adding a song in manually. So if I select add a new song, from here, I can go ahead, I can title out my song, I can select what key signature it is, I can say what tempo we're running on this song, any tags, you can actually create tags that specify what your song is. I can put uploads in here, so you can upload like a PDF chord chart or a lead sheet. You can upload an MP3 file, whatever it is, you can do that. And then from here, I can even paste in lyrics or chords. Now, if you put in chords, it'll actually give you the ability to transpose and everything, which is super handy. And then any other things here in the options, you can put the length of the song in seconds, any notes, CCLI number, all that good stuff, copyright. So that's the first way to add songs. Now there's another way that's much, much quicker. And that is to just go to add a song and then search or import from Song Select. Now, Song Select is an integration that we have built into ChurchTrac. If you have a Song Select account, you can actually connect your Song Select account to ChurchTrac, and then you can easily pull in songs from Song Select. I really love the ability to just go to the top songs and then go through here. And this is just nice because, you know, many of our churches may be doing some of these top songs, and then you can quickly just scroll through and say, hey, we actually want to do this song. I can view that song, make sure it's the one I want, and then I can select it, add it to my library. Now, here's what I really like is if I already have a song in my library, it recognizes that and it'll tell me, hey, it already looks like you have this in your library. Do you want to import it again? And then I can say, no, I don't want to import that again. But you can also just search songs, which I'll search a song. Here's a song. Let me know in the chat if you know this song, Love Theory. This is a song, I made it a point to learn the bass line in this song just to get better at bass. And the bass player for Kirk Franklin is off the chain. He is so good, and I am almost there for this song. If someone in here can play this song on the bass or piano, let me know. But that's how you search songs, and then I can easily just select add this song to my library. I can encode the lyrics. I can encode the chord or include the chord pro if I wanted to do that. And then I can import in a specific key if I wanted to do that, or I can just use the default key. And then from here, I can add this song. And then the software will automatically add that song. And now when I search my song library, I'll search Love Theory. Got a lot of songs about love, which is a good thing here. So Love Theory, Kirk Franklin, got the lyrics, and I have the files attached to it as well. So there's the chord chart. And now if I wanted to, I can add additional things to this song. So if I wanted to maybe add like a link, a YouTube link, I could do that. So all the things going on there. So that is like the quick, I just wanted to show some of the things going on in here as far as how you add your songs, how you add all the information that goes with those songs and everything. Now, so Pastor, is there a discount at Song Select if we're affiliated with ChurchTrac? Unfortunately not. Song Select, they do not offer discounts. I don't think I've ever seen them offer discounts. Are there any plans to expand where we can import from, for example, Worship Online? We are always open for additional integrations. So Aaron, let us know, create a support ticket as a feature request, and let us know that's something that you would like to see. And you know, if we have enough churches asking for it, we're definitely ears, we'd listen. So that's the quick version of how to import your songs. Okay, now let's move along and let's talk about, your teams. So adding your teams. This is the next step. So if you're not a worship leader, then the song library part was not something you needed to do. But if you are, everyone's scheduling people at some capacity. So this is where we do that. So teams and roles, if you haven't already in here, you go ahead and you select add, the add button. And this is where you can add a team. So for example, I have a hospitality team at my church. So I can say hospitality. And I have to spell it right. Today is one of those days I'm having a hard time spelling and my team's giving me a hard time about it. So select OK. There we go. Now, so I've got this team created, and just a couple things worth noting here. Like you can put details for a team. So I can say this team makes that delicious coffee. And then whatever else you want to put there, it's up to you. And now you can also assign a specific leader to a team. So when this person is the person that gets all of those emails when people sign up and go ahead and they say that, yes, I can serve and stuff like that. So I can say, hey, Matt is actually the leader of this team. And now I can go ahead and I can start assigning roles to this team. So I don't have any roles yet. So I can say, all right, first role is the coffee cart. And then I'll select OK. There we go. So I've got a role there. And then I can add another role. And I can say that this person is the muffin man. They're in charge of the muffins. So whatever roles you want to create. I know a muffin's technically not a role, but it will work for this scenario. And then from here, you can start assigning the team members to those roles. And so I can say, hey, Emily, she's actually one of our people who is in charge of the coffee cart. So I've added her to the team. And then I can add another person. I can say John Brown is also a part of this team. And you just keep adding the people, and there you go. Now, here's what's really cool. Now, if you are familiar with tags, then this is going to be kind of a cool thing to see. But whenever you create teams in ChurchTrac, that actually creates a tag in the people screen. And whenever you create roles in those teams, that actually creates a sub-tag in ChurchTrac. So tags in ChurchTrac go with teams and roles. They're together. So that's how that works. So from here, I can build out all my teams and everything. And what's so great about this is you can have as many teams as you want in ChurchTrac. There is no limitation. And I see a lot of churches, they just really love this, not only for worship, but they use this for a lot of different events. I was working with one church. They do a quarterly garage sale at their church, and it's like this huge community event. And then they had like different teams that were in charge of different aspects of it because it was like a huge thing they did. And they send out those scheduling requests and everything, and pretty wild. So really cool to see how you can use this in so many different ways beyond the worship service. But obviously worship, children's ministry, hospitality team, these are some of the big ones we see a lot of ministries utilize this for. Okay, so we have got the roles and the teams down for the most part. So let's talk about services and scheduling. So when it comes to planning out your worship services, there are a few different ways you can do this. Now, I can select this add button. So let's just create a service from scratch just to show what this looks like. So I will select the add button and I'll zoom in just in case you're watching on a smaller device. And then I can go ahead, I can enter a title for my service. And I can say the title for this service is Revelation. My church is doing a series in Revelation right now. So we're going to say Revelation 1. And then I pick my service date, which we'll say is happening on Sunday, the 19th. And then from here, I can pick my start time, my end time. Now, this actually pulled from the defaults, which is super handy. So I don't have to do anything. It's already my default service time. I can assign to a specific calendar here. And I could say this is going to our master calendar in this situation. But if you had different calendars, maybe you were doing a children's ministry, children's church, you could put that in your children's ministry calendar. So I select that. And then from here, I can pick a location. I can say worship building. Now I'm skipping over the using as a template just because I want to show that later. I first want to show you how to build it out, because the first thing you want to do, I recommend, is just building out your first worship service and building it out as your template that you can just use later on and just keep using it. So add service. All right, so I've got my service added. I have a couple more things I have to do, so stay with me. All right, so from here, a service has a couple things going on. You have songs, And you may have different elements within that service, like the sermon, maybe a time of offering, maybe a time of prayer. Maybe you have a video you want to play at a certain point in your service. We want to build this thing out. So I'm going to go ahead and add service items here. Now I can start adding songs, or I can add other elements. Now, just for fun, I'll go ahead and I'll just pick some random songs, completely random. This is why it's so important to have songs in your library ahead of time, so that way you can just pick through them. Now, one thing that's really cool, by the way, is I can search songs by key. And I know for those of you, if you're a worship leader, let me know in the chat. Just say, I'm a worship leader. But if you're a worship leader, you really appreciate this. If maybe you are doing a certain song, but you want to have another song in the exact same key, just because you want to have a really smooth transition during this one time, then I can say, hey, I want to find all my songs in the key of D real quick. That's my favorite key on acoustic guitar because I can play all those open chords. But then I can go ahead and start selecting the songs. Oh, Oceans. I haven't seen that song forever. Let's go ahead and select that just for fun. And you can select multiple songs at a time here. So if I wanted to, I could select these two. I could select 3. I could select 30, however many you want to add. So there we go. So I've added a couple songs. I'll just add those real fast just so you can see that. And some of the songs I actually put durations ahead of time in the song details. That's why you're seeing a 4-minute popped up there in the duration. It really is up to you how you want to do this. We tried to make this super customizable, where if you're a ministry that really wants to time things out in your service outlines, then you can assign different time to those elements. And if you're not, well, you can just delete the times. You don't have to have the amount of time in there. So it's really up to you. Now I'll add other service items here. So check this out. Instead of adding songs, I select other elements, and now I can start adding things like maybe the time of arrival. I want to add a closing in my service. So at the end, we'll have a closing. I have a time of announcements. See how I can select all these things at once? This really is kind of crazy, just because you are going to find that templates are going to save you the most time, and you'll probably spend most of your time planning using templates, so you're not recreating the wheel every week. But when you are in those situations where either from the very start, or you're just needing to create a very unique sermon series, and you are not really going to use a template that time, it's just so quick to build it out. I mean, I'm just selecting everything that I want to have in here, and then I can have a time of testimony, and there we go. So I'll just add these service elements real fast so you can see that. So I see a few worship leaders. So Trisha, Aaron, Pastor Hal, Belinda. All right, cool. So there we go. I've got these service elements. And here's the thing. When you're adding these service elements, I do want to point out. So if I go back, go to other elements, and you can see right here at the very bottom, I can add an element. So if you're in a situation where you don't have an element already in there yet, well, just select this add button, and then you can go ahead, title whatever that element is that you need, and then you'll be able to have that to choose from as well. This is all customizable. We have some elements that are in there by default in ChurchTrac, but your church is your church, and you have very specific things you're doing in your time of worship and at your events, and so you can create all those elements. There is no limit. You can have as many as you need. So there it is. I just wanted to show real fast. Obviously, this isn't the prettiest looking outline, and nothing is in the order I want. But when it comes to putting things in order, all you have to do is select the arrow, and then you can move things around here. And you just hover over those arrows, and you can see the little hand actually changes. This works easy both on a computer as well as a tablet. You can even do this on a phone. And so I can just move things around very quickly. I can say, I want to do Joy of the Lord first. There you go. Now, when it comes to scheduling people, I select the scheduling and roles, and now I can start adding my people to a service. So I can select add people / roles, and now I can go from here. I can add go to my teams and just start pulling people from my teams, or I can go specifically to the roles, and I can see these different roles and just add the roles, not a person yet. Or I can just go and look at the names and start adding out names if I want to do that as well. So just to give you an example, I'll say we need a worship leader. I'll say we need the keys. We need the bass guitar. We need drums. Actually, we basically need almost all this. So I'm just selecting all these things. Saxophone, not this time, maybe another time. And then we need our audio, video, lighting, all those things. There we go. Now, one thing I do want to point out, it's showing teams that you lead or displayed show all teams. So whenever you assign that team leader, whenever you're doing your teams and your roles in ChurchTrac, it's going to assign it to you. So in this situation, the only teams I lead out are these ones. But since I am an admin, I can see all teams and everything. So then I'll add these roles. And there we go. Now from here, I can go ahead and just start clicking the people that I want to add to these roles. And I'm going so fast, sometimes I have to remind myself to slow down. So worship leader, I just select that, and then I can select who I want to be the worship leader. Select name, there you go. Keys, select that, I can add that, and it automatically is showing me I can't schedule this person because I already scheduled them for something else. So that's the process of doing that. And then when it comes to sending out your scheduling requests to your people, you just go down the bottom, send invites, you select send invites, and then you can select your teams that you want to send the invites to. And so I'll say the worship team, and then I can also, check this out, this is really handy, I can send out a reminder message. Now, I oftentimes plan out usually 4 or 5 weeks in advance, not necessarily building out all my services with all the songs, but I try to schedule my people out just because people have crazy schedules these days. So sometimes it's nice to schedule them out in advance like that. And so I can say, hey, you know what? 3 days before the event, I just want all my people to get a reminder message that I've scheduled. So that way, maybe it's someone who's running the lights, or maybe it's someone who's running the live stream or the lyrics, whatever it may be. They just get that reminder just because this person may be a person that doesn't go to rehearsal during the week. Or maybe you don't have rehearsals during the week and people just show up on the Sunday morning before. Whatever it is, this is a really great feature. Highly recommend it. And so you just send out your invites to your people. And then as your people start saying yes, they can make it, they'll start lighting up. And I'll show what that looks like in a second. But I just wanted to kind of walk through all that. Now, let's go to actually getting into the template side of things, because this is really where you're going to fly. You're going to spread your wings and you're just going to fly in your worship planning. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the service. And so I'll just select the edit button and actually delete this worship service, since that was kind of like a test. This is where worship planning and volunteer scheduling gets really, really fast. I select the add button here, and then I can go ahead and I can title this service. And so we're going to say it's Revelation 1 again. Pick my service date. And we'll say that this worship service is happening on the 19th. Same time, there we go, blah, blah, blah. Location, I'll pick my location. But now, this time, I am going to add with the template. And I'm going to pick worship template A. This is a template I've already used. I've got everything hooked to it already. Now, here's what's really cool. When you're creating your worship services from a template, you have some options here to choose from. I can use the songs from that worship template, or I can just use placeholders. And then I can also use the roles. So all the people that were in that template, I can use them again, which is super handy. I can use just placeholders. So instead of all the team members of that, it'll be like, hey, the usher, the worship leader, these people. Or I can say no roles. Now, I'll just want to show just how crazy fast this is. So I'm just going to pick use songs, use roles. There we go. And then I'll just add service. And there we go. Service is added. Now this just pulled everything from my template that I use, and I've got some songs in here. And again, I can delete these songs, I can move things around, whatever. I just wanted to quickly show you just how everything looks when you've got it all pulled up. So I've got my service outline. And then as you go through your outline, let's say you want to put notations and things like that. I can just select a particular song or service element. And I can say who it's led by. So I can say, hey, Wes is leading this one. I can put a memo, and I can say, you know, for our lighting team, I want to use light cue number 4. I almost made a joke and I held back. I'm getting better at that. So there we go. Light cue number 4, led by Wes. And you can get as detailed as you want or simple as you want. It really is up to you. We give you the option to be able to do exactly what you need to do in that regard. And creating a template from scratch, Belinda, I see you in the chat there. It's just a process of creating your service. And so once you create a service, then you mark that service as a template. And I should have showed that. I completely forgot to show that. But when you have a service that you want to make as a template, you actually just select the edit button, and then you just say use as a template, select yes. So thank you so much, Belinda, for reminding me of that. It's sometimes it can be hard to remember every single little thing that's going on in here just because we give you so many options. But yeah, that's how you create a service as a template, and that's a tip I actually was going to remind everybody of a little later too. But yeah, big thing. So moving on, so we've got this service planned out. Now I want to show you the scheduling. So I've got all my people here that I want to send out those scheduling requests for and everything. And so I can go ahead and I can send out the invites. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and send out the invites to my team. And I'm going to send it out to my worship team and my AV team. And I can send a reminder message if I want. And I'll say, hey, 3 days before the event, I want all my people to get reminder messages. And now I can go ahead, send invites. Invites will be sent immediately. Do you want to send them? Yes. So I sent them, okay. So now the system is sending out all these invites. And it doesn't matter if you have a team of 5 people you're sending invites out to or a team of 500. It will send out all those invites to your people via email or text message, depending on how you want to do that. That is up to you. And your people can actually have preferences, and you can actually select the preference for a person. So like if I select a person, I can actually go to the member details. And it's nice, if I have their mobile number there, it'll already show up, but you can put in a mobile number, you can have their email address, and then you can also select the invite method. Now, personally for myself, this is just a personal preference. I use both email and SMS when I'm sending out scheduling requests to people, and here's the reason why. Is because there is no way a person's going to say, oh, I didn't get your email and I didn't get your text. No, they got them both, or at least one of them. And text, honestly, is probably the best way these days, at least in North America, to be able to send out your scheduling requests and reminders and everything. So that's something I always recommend. So we've got that there. So I've sent out all these scheduling requests. Now I want to switch gears. I want to show what it looks like. So whenever I send out these scheduling requests to my people, I want to show what it looks like for them. So I've actually got my phone here. Now, I don't have the email pulled up necessarily, but I just want to show you what it looks like on their side in terms of when they're using Church Connect, which is the church app and website built into ChurchTrac, included with ChurchTrac. So I'm logged into Church Connect as a church member. So check this out. So I go to upcoming events, and I've got 2 events that are here. I've got my discipleship group that I could actually start entering attendance for, but we're not talking about attendance for my discipleship group. No, we're talking about the worship service that just got scheduled for. And so here is that worship service that I just sent out the invites for and everything. And then from here, I can accept or decline. Now, I'm going to go ahead and accept. And there we go. Now, if your people can't make it, they can obviously hit decline, and they can even give you a note as to why they can't make it if that's something you want to do. But I'll go ahead, select submit. And now from here, I've accepted this worship service and everything. Now I'm going to go ahead, switch gears for a moment and come back to the phone. So I'm setting down the phone for a second, going back to my computer screen because I want to show you this. So I have now gone ahead, I've accepted that request. So when I refresh my screen here, and I go to that worship service as a worship leader that's scheduling my people, look at that. Ronald Swanson has accepted my invite. And that is the goal, isn't it, at the end of the day, to have a bunch of greens on the screen? So I just wanted to show you the mechanics of what that looks like and everything, both as someone who is planning out worship services and events and everything and scheduling those volunteers, and then also from the side of the volunteer. Now, going back to my cell phone, so I'm going to pull out the cell phone again. I just wanted to show a couple other things too. So when you schedule your people to serve, obviously they can respond to that request and everything via email or text or both. But they can also view that service outline. And so the service outline here, now I kept mine pretty simple just for this demo, but I mean, you can have all the different notations and everything in there if you want to do that. And it's showing all the different songs we have going on as well as the outline. Very basic in this scenario. Now, here's what's really cool, is I can select any song and I can see any files attached with that song. So let me hit close. I'll go to House of the Lord just to show that one real quick. So I can view, there's a YouTube video actually linked to. There's a chord chart I've got. So if I were to select that chord chart, it actually pulls up the chord chart right there on my phone or tablet or computer, however your people are accessing this. A lot of my people just use iPads. And from here, I can also view the lyrics and chords. And we give your people the ability to transpose chords. This is all built into ChurchTrac. And so people can say, you know what, the original key that we're doing the song is in the key of G, but maybe someone wants to transpose it in the key of D on their acoustic guitar and throw on a capo and have some fun. They can transpose the chord charts and everything here as well. So just some really great features there that your people can utilize to be able to get the most out of this. Now, the other feature we have here too is being able to scroll down to the bottom and they can just print out the outline from their device. They can also view the PDFs. So if you're using PDFs for all your chord charts and lead sheets and everything, you can actually just select View PDFs. I love this. Love, love, love. So I can select, you know what? I want all these PDFs rounded up into one PDF here. So I'll just select all of them. Got them all selected. Download selected files. And then it just generated me one single PDF document that has all the songs, all the chords here. I'm just flying through it. And I have like a special app that I like to use on my iPad. I mean, your people can view this however they want, whether they're just using the PDF viewer on their iPad or phone or computer or whatever, or they can just take this file and put it onto whatever app they like to use. There's so many apps out there that are free and paid that people can use to be able to notate things and all that stuff. And in fact, on a lot of devices, you can natively notate built in. You don't have to get an app for it. It's just built into the either the Android or iOS device. So just wanted to show that real fast. And then the other thing too, as someone who is being scheduled, I can also see people who are scheduled to serve along with me. Which this is just so great because they can see, oh, I'm serving with Jamie. That's awesome. I'm gonna text Jamie real quick just to see if she's gonna do the harmony on this one, and so that way I'm not singing the same harmony she's doing or something like that. Or oh, I see that Tad is playing electric guitar. I'll text Tad and ask him if he wants me to do the lead for this song, whatever. So it gives your people the ability to know who's playing with them and everything, which is so key to having a worship team that meshes so well, or just serving in any capacity, really. And then if you have any rehearsals, by the way, I didn't really have time to show this and create it, but you can create rehearsal times and everything as well, and those are going to show up too for your people. So that is the very quick version of just like what all of this looks like for your people on their side of things. I could dive deeper into some of that, and there's a couple other tips I'll show later, but I just wanted you to see what that looks like. Okay, now let's talk about how to get the most out of ChurchTrac worship and scheduling. There are a lot of features in here, but I'm going to show a couple, and I think your mind's going to be blown when I show you this next one. So first thing, let me go ahead and do this just to really set the stage. I'm going to quickly create 3 additional worship services. Actually, I'll do one more because you'll see. All right, so I've got right here, I'll just select the add button to create another worship service. And I'm just going to create this from a template, and I'll just call this Revelation 2. And then I'll just pick the service date, and this one would actually be the 26th because I've already got one happening on the 19th. Main calendar, and then I'll use a template, and I'm just going to use worship template A. And again, I'll use the same songs and the same roles just because I want to have something already loaded in there ready so you can see it, even if it is the same stuff. And then we'll go to worship building. Okay, got that. All right, add service. So now I have 2 worship services loaded. Here's a really cool feature. This feature is called side by side. What does it do? It lets you have multiple worship services loaded side by side. Exactly what it says it does. You know, very rare in life you can get something that says exactly what it does, you know? So if I scroll down on my worship outline, we actually have the option here for side by side. So if I select side by side, what this does, and I'll select my first service just because you'll see. So side by side, I select that. It brings this whole new drop down that just came down, and now I have this first service loaded up. What I can start doing is I can load additional services. And so from here, I'm going to select the load services. And now it's pulling all of the previous services that I've done, as well as upcoming services. I can load, let's do Revelation 2. So the one that's coming right after that. So load selected service. And there we go. Now, obviously in this situation, both of these services are identical because I just created them both from a template just for time's sake, so you can see that. So I've got these services. Not only is it showing me all the songs and the service elements that are happening here, but if I scroll down, I have all the people. And not only do I have all the people, I can see if they're green, if they're red, if they've already said that they can make it. So this is like a scheduler's greatest asset, to be able to have multiple weeks at a time seeing your people and knowing who can and cannot be there. But wait, there's more. Okay, so let's say I want to create another worship service. I can actually do this from side by side. And so I can actually go back up, I can select add, and I can add another worship service right here. And so what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to add another worship service. So I'm going to say Revelation 3, and then I'll select my date, and this one's actually going to be on March 5th, which March 5th, that's going to be the time that we'll be at Exponential Conference. So that'll be fun. So now from here, I have my service time, calendar, all the good things. I can add a service using a template if I want to do that, but I'm not going to do it for this situation, and I'll show you why. So location, we'll use the same location, worship building. All right, got all that. Add service. Okay, so it's telling me, hey, nothing's been added to your service yet. This is where it gets really fun. And this is probably, like, I think one of the most powerful features of ChurchTrac in terms of being able to schedule your people and plan out events beyond worship. I mean, you can use this for any kind of planning. So now from here, I can actually copy things over from another worship service to another one. I can also move things over. So first, let me do this. I'm going to copy over, the scripture. So I'll copy that. There we go. Just copied it. I can copy over announcements. I actually have to move it over to get it over. There we go. I can copy over the video. Now, I know some of you are looking at it. Sorry, my mouse skills today are failing me. So I've got a couple things added. Now, I don't have to just do one thing at a time. I can do multiple things at a time. So I can say click to select. I can select closing. I can select sermon. And I can select as many as I want. And then I can hover over this little emblem here, and then I can just move those things over. And there we go. And so oftentimes, here's what I see. I see ministers and church admins and worship leaders, they will just copy everything over just like that, what they need, and they'll build this out, and they'll look at a month at a time of doing all these things. Because it's not just the songs and the service elements that I can move over, it's people. And so I can actually use this as a valuable way of being able to schedule out my people. And what's so cool about this, so I'll go in here and I'll select the add button, because this is where I can add different people in this situation. That's where I'm at. And so I can show all teams if I wanted to, but I'm just going to go to worship team. And I am going to say that, Eddie is going to be my worship leader for this one. Now I'm just going to add one person. I just want to show you what this looks like. So I've got Eddie here, but I can move people around, which is so nice, because let's say that, my worship leader, Weston, who happens to be myself, actually can't serve this week, but Eddie can, and so they're going to swap weeks. Well, then I can just, from here, instead of copying between services, I toggle this to move between services on the bottom left. So this is key. I do want you to see that. I'll zoom in on my screen just so you can see that, but move between services. So this enables me to move people around, and so I can then move this person over here, and then I can move this person over here. And there we go. This is such a great feature. If I could harp on anything today, it's this right here. If you're scheduling a lot of people or just planning out a lot of things, and you've got a lot of plates that you feel like you're spinning, this is going to make your life so much easier. I see a lot of leaders, they're able to do all of their scheduling, all of their planning on side by side. That's why I dedicated so much time to talking about side by side, getting the most out of this. In fact, we've done previous live streams just on side by side because of so many things that are going on here. And so you're only getting just the quick version of side by side, but this is going to be your best friend when it comes to doing all those things. And so you can plan out your services, and then you can have up to 4 services at a time. So if I wanted to, so I'll go back up to the top, I'll add another service real fast, and we'll just call this Revelation 4. And then I'll pick my date here. So I'll say this one's happening on the 12th. Blah, blah, blah. I can use a service template if I want to, and in this case I will, just to show you real fast what that looks like. And then in this situation, I'll use placeholders, there we go. Location, pick my worship building. And so I'm sure many of you are looking at this like, wow, there's so many different ways I can plan accordingly here. There really are. It really is up to you. Now, I'm just going to tell you, take this with a grain of salt, but I find that a lot of worship leaders, a lot of church admins, a lot of pastors that are doing scheduling, that are doing worship planning, once they see the power of side-by-side, they kind of start using side-by-side for almost everything, simply because you can do so many of the things that you need to do in side-by-side. And a lot of times when we're doing our planning and stuff, we're not looking at just like a 1 week at a time kind of deal. A lot of times we're having to holistically look at the month. And so that's why I love side-by-side so much. I feel like I should write a song about side-by-side because I'm talking about it so much. But yeah, it's just a great feature. And I think as you use it, you're going to find yourself living in the side-by-side screen a lot. So that's the how to use side-by-side. That's a really powerful feature. I highly recommend it. I think as you start planning things, you're going to love it too. Now, let's talk about some other ways getting the most out of it. So I'm kind of flying through here. Using texting to send out scheduling requests. I mentioned this earlier, but whenever you're sending out those scheduling requests, so I'll go back to one of my services here. You can select a person and you can specify on the member details if they already have a phone number that's entered for that person's profile that's going to show up here already. But you can have their phone number, have their email address, and set those invite methods. If you are in North America, especially United States, SMS is probably going to be one of the best things for you to use, and ChurchTrac makes it easy for you to do that. So I highly recommend that. Another thing, using scheduling reminders. I already talked about that earlier, but I just really, really want to reinforce this is going to save you so many awkward text messages at 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning when you have someone that you scheduled a month ago send you a text asking if they're serving, and you're like, yeah, you are. And then they text you back, I'm out of town, I forgot I was serving, or whatever. So definitely recommend when you go to send out those invites to your people, make sure you send those reminder messages. And you can dictate 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. I personally always do 3 days when it comes to Sunday mornings at least, because that means on Fridays people are getting that reminder message, but it is completely up to you. You have the ability to change it. So that's definitely a big thing of like getting the most out of it. That's going to help you out tremendously. Now, another thing that's really going to help you get the most out of this is by using your people in a good way. And here's what I mean by that. And that came out really weird, but so encourage your people to download Church Connect, which is the church app and church website built into ChurchTrac, and create their profile and everything, because Church Connect, they're going to be logging into it whenever they're checking out the worship outlines and all that stuff. But one of the things your people have the ability to do in Church Connect is whenever they select the menu and they go to upcoming events, so they can see all the different events that they've been scheduled for, as well as just upcoming events in general at the church. So there's a chili cook-off. But your people have the ability to update their availability. So if I select update my availability, right now I have no dates. If I wanted to, I could add unavailable dates. And so I can say, hey, I know for a fact that April 16th, I am not going to be able to serve because we are doing a daughter dedication. And so I can say that I'm doing a daughter dedication and I don't want to be serving that day because it's a big day for me as a dad. We're dedicating our daughter and it's going to be too much for me to try to like serve in the worship team the same day. So then I can select close and there we go. So now I've got that added. Whoops, I actually forgot to say yes, I wanted to add that. So I can go back, pick the date. There it is. And then go ahead, save these dates, and there we go. So now I have a couple dates that I've saved here. So now whenever I go to schedule people as a worship leader or church admin, whoever, it will show that that person is unavailable to serve for that date. So that just really gives the power to your people so they can kind of help set the schedule, and it just makes your life so much easier when you're trying to schedule people. So that's something that'll really help you get the most out of worship. Now, let's do some quick tips. This is real fast. So I'm going to give you a few tips that are going to kind of really just reinforce how to get the most out of this here. Number one, connect your Song Select account. If you have Song Select, go ahead, connect it to ChurchTrac. That way that you can search these songs and everything, pull them into your library so much faster if you have Song Select already. Really reinforce tip number 2, members updating their availability that I just showed. That's really going to help you just be able to plan accordingly so much quicker and make your life easier, and you're not having to chase down people and figure out schedules. Encouraging members to choose their preferred invite method. That's another one, and they can do that on Song Select. Another one, create song collections. And this is something I didn't even really get to hit on when we were talking about the song library, but just to really fast show you this. So when you're adding all your songs to your library, as you add songs, I mean, it can start getting pretty deep, and you can have a lot of songs. So sometimes it's great when you have certain libraries of maybe like, I've got one of my current rotation, and this one are songs that we're currently doing at our church that are in our current rotation here, but then I can have one that's just like hymns that we like to do, and here's some hymns. I can have one for Christmas music. So I encourage you to do that. It's just gonna make your life a little bit easier when it comes to just picking out your songs and keeping a song library just kind of managed well. It's not fun when your song library is just like crazy and all out of sorts. So this makes your life a little easier there. Another thing too, when we're talking about the song library, is we give you this report option here because at certain times we're asked to report to CCLI our songs and everything. And so we have a few different reports. If you click that button, that print button, it brings that up. And I'll just show that again one more time in case you didn't see it. I'll zoom in, but this print button right here, so that's in the song library. Whenever I select that, I can go ahead and generate a song use report, and I can pick my start date and my end date. And I can say number of times the song was used, or I can just have one with song title. That's just a great thing to use, not only for CCLI, but just in general. It helps you as a worship leader not use the same song over and over again. There's a song I was listening to for a while. It's called Send Me. I think it was like McCleary, I forget the name, but I was doing that song so much, and then I was finally like, golly, I need to chill out with this song. So that, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in here to help you out with all that. All right, well, we have gone through a whole lot of stuff, and some of the questions here I didn't even get a chance to get to yet. So I really just want to open up this time to really answer your questions. Now, if you're watching in the future, hey future, you can't ask us questions live because you're watching maybe a day later, maybe a month later, maybe a year later. But I just want to encourage you, if you do have questions, just reach out to our support team, click that help button, go to our online user guide. We have so much great material there. YouTube videos, this is going to be posted on our YouTube channel at a later time. And so we have a lot of resources to help you out. So, all right, let's go into a time of just, really, I'm just going to look at the chat, look at some questions we have. My team already gave me some questions in my personal chat with them of things I haven't answered yet. So I'm going to do my very best to just answer all the questions. I'll get to a certain point where I'm just not going to be able to answer them all. So if I do skip a question of yours, it's not because I didn't like your question. It's simply because I just only have so much time. And so just reach out to our support team. They're so incredibly fast. I can guarantee you, if you send them a question, you're going to get a response usually in about an hour or so. Even in the busiest time of year when other companies take 24 hours to reply to support requests, we are still replying to support tickets usually in like an hour. So, all right. Questions here. Are there any plans to expand? This one's from Aaron. So Aaron's asking, are there any plans to expand where we can import from? Okay, I kind of answered that already, Aaron, but yeah, just send us a support request and we'll see. Already answered that one from Pastor Howell. Can you change the key once a song is added? Yes, you can change the key from when a song is added. And I see worship leaders do a lot of different things in our platform just because it's kind of customizable. I see some worship leaders, they'll have a song in there like 3 times, but it's in 3 different keys just because they have certain things and that's how they do it. I see other worship leaders attach all the song files to that particular song in multiple keys and everything. And just to show you what that looks like real fast, if I select the song, of course, Angels We Have Heard on High is like the first one I see. But I can go to this song and I can actually adjust things accordingly. So I can say key signature, not only F, but then I can say C, and then I can say D and hit close. And now that song has 3 keys associated with it. And then I can attach a bunch of chord charts, stuff like that. So you can do that as well. I personally lean towards have a different song for each key. But it just comes down to how you want to do it, honestly. So is there, let's see, I see some other questions here. Bear tight with me here. I'm having a hard time sift through all the questions here. There's a lot of them. What if your worship leader is an acoustic guitar player also? Yeah, so in a case like this, I just put worship leader because I know the worship leader is playing the acoustic, and that's just how I do it. Nick, now I want to hear the joke even more. No, email me for the joke, Nick. I'm here Monday through Friday. I'll give you the jokes. Aaron, is there a plan to allow us to edit templates rather than having to make a new one? Aaron, you can edit the templates. Yeah, reach out to our support team and they'll help you out with that. Trisha, is it possible to edit the reminder message? Trisha, not that I know of. I don't think you can edit the reminder message. But reach out to our team, see if that's a possibility of something maybe they'd look into possibly adding. I will say this, Trisha, we try to make these, we call them transactional text messages and transactional emails where they're just kind of like very generic. I honestly wouldn't recommend trying to get like customizey with things like reminder messages, because really it's just kind of a matter of fact thing that you're just wanting to remind your people that, hey, you're scheduled for this such and such date, for this such and such role, at this such and such time. But yeah, reach out to our team, talk to them. They're pretty easy to get in touch with. All right, Evan, what would be the easiest way to add specific readings or prayers for an assigned person? Is there a document upload option? Or does it all go in the memo field? And if in the memo, does it get included with the invite reminder? That's a really loaded and good question, Evan. So there are a few different ways you can honestly do that. Reach out to our support team, and that way we can talk more one-on-one with you, Evan. But just kind of just throwing out of my brain here of just looking at what you're asking me, I personally would have I would create a song in which it has that file attachment to it. And that song, even though it's a song, it's technically kind of like more so of a service element in that regard. That's typically a way I see a lot of churches doing that. Or I'll see a lot of churches, what they'll do is they'll have the song and they'll have the links to different things. So if there's like multiple things that you're having to utilize and you can just link to them within it, that's another way. I mean, there's like 5 or 6 different ways you can do this. So yeah, reach out to our team. We'll help you out with that. Pastor Hal's asking, is there a way to link the lyrics to the big screens in the auditorium? So there is no integration with that. So yeah, you would have to take the lyrics, copy them, and put them into whatever software it is that you're using. Let me know what software it is you're using, Pastor Hal, for your presentation. I'm just kind of curious. So Jocelyn, is there any way to add files to other service elements, like for a sermon? Yeah, as it stands right now, the service elements, you can't add files to them. I'm actually going to talk to our developer team on that to see like what would entail for us to maybe offer that as an option, because I can see a lot of situations when that would be really helpful. And so yeah, right now in this situation, you would just create a song you don't import a song from Song Select. In that case, you just add a song and then just name it whatever you want and everything and do that. But that would be a really good idea. We're always trying to use, I know it doesn't seem like it today because I've been talking so much and I needed some water here, but we're always trying to use our 2 ears to listen and only 1 mouth to talk. And so as you give us ideas here at ChurchTrac, we really do take them to heart. We probably get, oh goodness, maybe like 30 or 40 feature requests a day, just churches giving us some amazing ideas. And so like a lot of the features you see in the software are because we actually take the time, we look at your recommendations and things that you're like, hey, we love how your software does this, but it'd be cool if it did this too. And if enough churches are asking for something, our developers are pretty keen on trying to incorporate that stuff. We've got a really great team here that just loves to just build this software to really equip your church to build the body of Christ. So, all right, another question. Let me get a sip of water here. Woo! You all are bringing the heat with these questions. This is awesome. A lot of good questions here. And again, if you're watching in the future, you can't participate in this Q&A, but hopefully a lot of these questions are maybe questions you were thinking of. So, all right, do we get a notification if someone changes availability. I do not believe that you get a notification, Cassandra. Double check with our support team on that. That's a good question. I'm trying to remember. I know most of the things, but I don't know all the things. So Jamie, the side-by-side scheduling is a game changer. Thanks for sharing. I'll be clicking back and forth. I was clicking back and forth to schedule. Oh gosh, yes. That's a big reason why we created side-by-side. Man, I'm telling you, like more and more ministers and worship leaders and just leaders in general that I work with, when they see side-by-side and they start using it, it's like the light switch just turns on and they see that, oh wow, this literally can do all my scheduling and all my worship planning. I don't even have to jump out of the screen really to do this stuff. It is awesome. Jocelyn, I can't find the ChurchTrac app. That's because it's not on the App Store. You don't have to go to the App Store to download it. Your ChurchTrac app, the way your people access it is by the QR code that is built into ChurchTrac that we provide you with, as well as your ChurchConnect URL, which you can actually customize as well. So learn more about that. Just check out our user guide. And check out the ChurchConnect side of things. And that way you can dive into that. And today you can create your own website and church app. It is that easy. It's pretty wild. All right. Will this print a bulletin or order of worship that we can hand out to the congregation? Yeah, so you can, just to go back to the services, and that's a question I think from WR, it looks like. So from here I can select any particular service, and then I can scroll down just a hair and I can print the outline. And so if I select print outline, it actually pulls up the order of worship. Now this looks super basic and generic because I didn't add any notes or anything to this, but if you had a bunch of notes and things added, those things are going to show up here on your different service elements and your songs. So, but like now in terms of like a bulletin, if you're talking like a bulletin that has much more than your order of worship, but also has like a lot of other things that you're adding, like, you know, upcoming events and things like that, this is not going to do that. So I want to make that clear. This is more so just your scheduling your people and also planning out your worship services, not a bulletin. And speaking of bulletins, just another shout out to ChurchConnect. I feel like a broken record with ChurchConnect, but I mean, it really is, I would say, the first game changer. I know because one of you said this was the side-by-side was a game changer. ChurchConnect is the bigger game changer just because it is a church app and it is a church website. No other church software platform has done this, where they have made a thing that is actually both of those things in one, and it's easy to build and it's included with the software. It is awesome. All right. Can you add, so WR is kind of following up, can you add responsive readings or call to worship? Yeah, you can put that in the outline. To be brutally honest though, because I don't want to like sugarcoat it, this is really geared more so to like your worship team and like people that are like the leadership that are a part of this service and everything. In terms of like your people, it's really not geared like this. The outline that we provide is not really geared towards your congregation. I have worked with a lot of ministries that have done that and kind of sort of done that. So I just want to kind of put that word of caution that it's really not geared towards your congregation. It's more so geared to your volunteers and people that are actually like leading out the service and everything. Does this link to, and so you've got a lot of good follow-ups. Does this link to scripture show the full verse? So there's only so much you're going to be able to put in that outline before it just starts looking crazy, because it's really not geared towards like throwing in like a paragraph of information and everything. So again, that's when I would really just kind of encourage you that if you're trying to make like a bulletin and something that's more like geared towards your congregation, this is not the tool for that. All right, JT, if a song has multiple key signatures attached, is there a way to specify the key the song will be played in that particular service? So in that situation, there is not, because I'll just show real fast. If I were to pull a song, so like if I did a random service here, I'll choose a song and I'll actually pull the Angels We Have Heard on High, add the selected song. And there we go. So it's showing those multiple keys there. This is why I see a lot of ministries, if you, a lot of times, you know, for churches, you may have like a song and you only do this song in like a couple different keys. So that's why I see a lot of ministries where they will have that song in there twice in 2 different keys, and that way it's just easier. That's just the way our system is built. It's kind of more geared towards the type of team that may not be constantly just throwing out like a gazillion keys. But even if you are, doing a different key of a song, like almost every time you do the song, I mean, you can still easily just select the key in the song and change it if needed. ProPresenter integration would be great. WR. So WR, that is something we have really looked into a lot. ProPresenter doesn't integrate with too many worship planning softwares out there. One of the things, and help me with this, we're trying to understand, because we have so many ministries that are using so many different presentation softwares. We have some that are using ProPresenter. We have some that are using Keynote, some that are using PowerPoint, some that are using, oh gosh, the name just slipped out of me. Not ProPresenter, Easy Worship. And then we have other ones using OpenLP. And so because of that, there's such a level of complexity. And then on top of that, we have a lot of churches that even though they are using ProPresenter, the integration that ProPresenter offers still would cause them to just want to change it anyways and have to redo it. And so that's kind of where our struggle is we would love to do an integration, but we're just having a hard time see if that integration would actually save many leaders much time, simply because a program like ProPresenter is kind of already built in a way to where, much like us with our templates and everything, and you can just fly through it and quickly add things. ProPresenter is kind of that way too, where, I mean, once you have everything set up at ProPresenter, you just select the songs you want, throw them in, you're ready to rock. So that's kind of why we haven't really looked too heavily at the integration. And I know I gave you way too much information you probably asked for, but I wanted to kind of bring you into our heads a little bit of, we're very intentional about the integrations we offer with our software. And one of the first questions we always ask is this integration actually going to make things easier and faster? And if it doesn't, it's probably not an integration we want to offer. So if we can see a way where that integration would help, we'll definitely consider it. All right. Side note, are you going to have the live stream for Church Connect? We just had that a while back, Belinda. Check our YouTube channel, and you can check out that live stream, look more about it. So Nick, we just set up our integration for SMS texting with Twilio, and our scheduling responses have come back way faster versus sending out emails. SMS is where it's at. Yes, Nick, SMS is definitely where it's at. Now, again, I'm talking about North America because SMS is, I mean, pretty much everywhere else, WhatsApp is what everyone's using. But yes, in North America, texting, it is the #1 way to communicate with your congregation. The read rates, I'm trying to remember. I was just talking with Matt about this. I think it was 98% of your text messages that you send are read within 20 minutes. When it comes to sending out your scheduling requests and the scheduling reminders, text messaging, oh my goodness. Our integration with Twilio is, to steal from back in the 90s, everyone said, it's off the chain. It is off the chain. It is wild. And I guess you could say it's off the chain in the sense of it will free your church to be able to communicate with its people in a way it's never been able to before. So there you go. There's my semi-dad joke of the day for you. All right. Other questions here. Thanks for letting us, for putting that out there, Nick, just because sometimes it's good when people can hear other people besides myself tout how amazing text messages for church communication. And obviously, you've seen the results of that in your ministry. All right, Jamie, Easy Worship integrates with Song Select, same account used for ChurchTrac. Yeah, so that's something we definitely are inclined to look into, and a few of them do. And again, it just comes back to, is that integration going to be, just because of how we've built ChurchTrac and how a lot of these other platforms work, an integration has to be something that's going to be worthwhile. Just because we find with a lot of integrations that I've seen with other companies that integrate, it doesn't really speed up the process. It's just kind of like there. And we don't do integrations just to say we have an integration. That's something I see. to get on a, no, I'm not even going to go there, but some companies like to tout a lot of integrations as a way to lure people in and say, look how great this is. But those integrations really don't do too much, and then they never really get used to their fullest potential because they're not even great to begin with. We don't add integrations just for the sake of adding them, just so we can have a list of integration partners. We add them if it's genuinely something that's going to make your life easier for your ministry. Automations, yes. Someone just texted me that. So we're at a point where we have gone through a lot. Yeah, and Jamie, let everyone know about that text messaging credit. That's amazing. It's off on a tangent, but yeah, we give you the ability to, one of our integrations, the few that we are very intentional about, is our integration with Twilio. And Twilio is the world's largest text messaging SMS provider. And with our integration with Twilio, if you're a 501c3, or you can prove to them that you're a nonprofit organization, which you are as a church, as a ministry, you get $500 in text messaging credit. You can jump on our Facebook group and see everyone talking about it. It is pretty awesome just to see church leaders be able to text their congregation and to do it without having to pay for it. There is no other church texting platform. I don't make bold statements too often, but this is one bold statement I will tell you. There is no other text messaging platform that is going to be more affordable than ChurchTrac and Twilio. There is none. In fact, with our ChurchTrac Twilio integration, you may not pay for text messaging for a long time. I was just talking with one of the people here at ChurchTrac whose church is using it, and they haven't paid for text messaging, and they've been using it for a year now, and they still have a lot of credit left. So pretty awesome. All right, now I do want to mention, so next week, we are having another live stream. We're kind of finishing up our whole series of all our live streams for the beginning of the year. We do all these live streams like every week, but we have one last live stream that we're doing, and that is on automations. And I'm going to drop the link in the chat for everybody here. Now, you should have already received an email. If you think worship planning and volunteer scheduling in ChurchTrac is awesome, this is going to completely make you go, psh. It is automations. I can't even begin to tell you how many things you can do with it. This has turned into a feature that our developers have always wanted to do and came out with a few months back, only for all of us here at ChurchTrac to start using it and go, do you realize how powerful this is? And they were like, yeah, we figured it was pretty great and it would help churches. This feature is amazing. This is like taking an old pickup truck, throwing a jet engine on it, and launching it into outer space. That is what this will do for your church. We are seeing a lot of churches that are high growth churches that have really just been able to make an impact in their communities, and they take a feature like automations and take that to the next level. So be sure to join us next week as we talk about automations. And like all of our live streams, we'll repost that at a later time. So if you can't make it next week, just watch that live stream. So a lot of good questions. Thank you all so much for joining. We love doing these live streams because it's an opportunity for us to really just kind of talk shop and show you some things in the software, and also be able to just equip our churches to build the body of Christ. We'll see you next week. See ya.